Hello and welcome to Teacher Rohulah's channel. In this video, I'm going to work on exercise 1.3 of workbook 3 of Cambridge Primary Mathematics. And this exercise is about estimating and rounding numbers. Let's start from question number 1. In question number 1, it says, estimate how many dots are there in the box. The box is given here, and we have to estimate how many dots are there. To estimate the number of dots here, we have to make groups of 10. We have to make groups of 10. So let's make the group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I will circle the group, one group of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The other group of 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And another group of 10. We made 3 groups of 10 in this part. Now we split the whole box into 4 pieces. And we assume that each piece contains about 30 dots. So how many pieces we have here? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we know that in each piece we have about 30 dots. So 30 times 4 is 120. So we estimate that the number of dots in this box is about 120. So when we estimate, we don't want the exact number. We want a number which is closer or closest to the exact number. Let's now move to question number 2. So let me scroll it a bit down. In this question, it says, estimate how many grains of rice are on the middle spoon. In the first spoon, it is estimated to be around 100 to 200 grains of rice. In the third spoon, it's estimated to be around 400 to 600 grains of rice. We see that the middle spoon is more than the first spoon and less than the third spoon. Seeing that the first spoon contains about 100 to 200 and the third one contains about 400 to 600, we say that the middle spoon contains about 200 to 300 grains of rice. So we are done estimating the first 2 questions. Let's scroll down to move to question number 3. In question number 3, it says, round each number to the nearest 10. So we all know that when we round to the nearest 10, we underline the digit in the tens place and compare the digit in the ones place with 5 or more or 4 or less. If 5 or more, we round up. If 4 or less, we round down. Seeing that 1 is 4 or less, so we round 271 to 270. We say that 271 is closest to 270 rather than 280. In the second number, we have 397. Again, we underline the digit in the tens place and circle the 1 in the ones place. 7 is 5 or more, so the number rounds up. When it rounds up, we increase the underlined digit by 1. 9 increased by 1 will be 10. And the number that we get after rounding is 400. The number is 400. The third number is 138. Again, we underline the digit in the tens place and circle the 1 in the ones place. Seeing that 8 is 5 or more, we increase the underlying digit by 1. So the rounded number is 140. 3 is increased by 1, so we got 4 in the tens place. The fourth number is 404. We underline the digit in the tens place and circle the 1 in the ones place. We see that 4 is 4 or less. So the number rounds down. When it rounds down, the digit in the tens place remain the same. So we have 0 there and 0 remains the same. And the number that we get is 400. We are done with question number 3. Let's now move to question number 4. In question number 4, it says, round each number to the nearest 100. Now that we round to the nearest 100, we underline the digit in the hundreds place and circle the digit in the tens place and compare it with 5 or more or 4 or less. Now 6 is 5 or more, so we round up. To round up means to increase the underlying digit by 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So the rounded number is 200. The second number is 449. Again, we underline the digit in the hundreds place and circle the 1 in the tens place. 4 is 4 or less. So the number rounds down and we get 400. The third number is 325. So underline 3, circle 2, which is in the tens place. Seeing that 2 is 4 or less, the number rounds down and we get 300. The last number is 250. So again, we underline 2, which is in the hundreds place, and circle 5. Seeing that 5 is 5 or more, so the number rounds up. We increase 2 by 1 and get 3, and write 2 zeros in place of 5 and 0. Let's now move to question number 5. Let me scroll it down. In question number 5, it says, Class 3 used this table to make estimates of the number of grains in different plastic bags. So they have given the weight and also the number of grains. Masses of grains or the weight of grains and the number of grains. For 5 gram, there will be 100 number of grains. For 10 gram, 200. For 15, 300. For 20, 400. And for 25, 500. In the table to the right also, for 30 gram, 600 grains. For 35, 700. For 40, 800. For 45, 900. And for 50, 1000 grains. In part A of this question, it says, Samira estimates that her plastic bag has 300 to 400 grains. They weigh 18 grams. Is this a good estimate? Let's look where is 18 gram. We see that 18 gram is between 15 gram and 20 gram. So if the weight of the grain is 15 gram, it's 300. And if the weight is 20 gram, it's 400. So 18 gram is between 15 and 20. So we can say that yes, it is a good estimate. A good estimate. Because it's within the range. In part B, it says, Pedro's grains weight 31 gram. What range would be a good estimate for his grains? 31 gram is between 30 gram and 35 gram. So the estimated range for his grain is 600 to 700 because 31 is between 30 and 35. So we are done with question number 5. Let's scroll down to go to question number 6. In question number 6, it says, round each amount to the nearest $10. To round to the nearest $10, we have to find the digit in the tens place and circle the digit in the ones place. Seeing that 7 is 5 or more, the number rounds up. So the amount that we get is $540 because it's rounded to the nearest 10. In the second number, we have $695. So the digit in the tens is 9. And in the ones we have 5. 5 is 5 or more. Again, it rounds up. The number that we get is $700 because 9 increased by 1 is 10. So 1 of 10 will be added to 6. And we get 7. The third amount is $772. We underline the digit in the tens and circle in the ones place. 2 is 4 or less. So this amount rounds down and we get $770. The last amount is $808. Again, we underline the digit in the tens place and circle the 1 in the ones place. Seeing that 8 is 5 or more, we round up. Means we increase the digit in the tens place by 1. 0 plus 1 will be 1. So the rounded amount is $810. Let's now move to question number 7. In question number 7, it says, round each amount to the nearest 100 kilograms. The first amount is 150 kilograms. To round it to the nearest 100, we underline the digit in the hundreds place and circle the 1 in the tens place. Seeing that the digit in the tens place is 5 or more, so the amount rounds to 200 kilograms. The second number is 555. We underline the digit in the hundreds place and circle the 1 in the tens place. Seeing that the circle digit is 5 or more, again this number rounds up. So the number that we get is 600 kilograms. The third amount is 444 kilograms. So we underline the digit in the hundreds place and circle the 1 in the tens place, seeing that the circle digit is 4 or less. So the number rounds down and the rounded number is 400 kilograms. The last amount is 501 kilogram. So we underline the digit in the hundreds place and circle the 1 in the tens place, seeing that is 4 or less. Again, it rounds down and we get 500 kilograms. We are done with question 6 and 7. Let's now move to question number 8. Round the height of each tower to the nearest 10 meters and to the nearest 100 meters. So the names of the towers are given here. The first one is Lacta Center. The second one is Willis Tower. The third one, Burj Khalifa. Then Petronas Tower 1, Shanghai Tower, and Lot World Tower. The height of Lacta Tower is 462. To round this to the nearest 10, we underline the digit in the tens place and circle the 1 in the ones place. Seeing that 2 is 4 or less, so this rounds down to 460. And when we round the height of this tower to the nearest 100, we get 500 because the digit in the tens place is 5 or more. The height of the Willis Tower is 442 meters. So the digit in the tens is 4 and the digit in the ones is 2. 2 is 4 or less. So it rounds to 440. And when we round it to the nearest 100, again it rounds to 400 because in the tens place we have 4 or less. The height of Burj Khalifa is 828. To round this number to the nearest 10, we underline the digit in the tens place and circle the 1 in the ones place, seeing that 8 is 5 or more. So this height rounds to 830. And when we round to the nearest 100, the digit in the tens place is 4 or less. So the height rounded to the nearest 100 is 800. The height of Petronas Tower 1 is 452. So to round to the nearest 10, we underline 5 and circle 2 2 is 4 or less, so the number rounds to 450 to the nearest 10 and to 500 to the nearest hundreds because the digit in the tens place is 5 or more. The height of Shanghai Tower is 632. Again, to round to the nearest 10, 3 is underlined and 2 is circled, and the number rounds to 630 because 2 is 4 or less, and rounded to the nearest 100, we get 600 because 3 in the tens place is also 4 or less. The height of Lot Tower is 555. When we round to the nearest 10, we get 560 because in the ones place we have 5 or more. And when we round to the nearest 100, we get 600 because in the tens place we have 5 or more. Let's now move to question number 9. In question number 9, it says, which towers rounded to the same height when their heights are rounded to the nearest 100 meters? So the towers that rounded to the same height are Lacta Center and Petronas Tower 1. Lacta Center, I will write LC for Lacta Center, and Petronas Tower 1, PT1, and they rounded to 500. The other two towers which rounded to the same height are Shanghai Tower, SHT, and Lot Tower, and they rounded to 600. So these are the towers that rounded to the same height. Let's move to question number 10. So let me scroll down a bit. Okay. In question number 10, it says, Zara rounds a number to the nearest 10 and to the nearest 100. Her answer both times is 500. What could her number be? Record all the possible numbers. The numbers that round to 500 can be 495, it can be 496, it can be 497, 498, 499, and also 500, 501, 502, 503, and 504. When we round these numbers both to the nearest 10 or to the nearest 100, they round to 500. Suppose if we round 495 to the nearest 10, 495, 9 is in the tens place and 5 is in the ones place. 5 is 5 or more, so this number rounds to 500 because 9 increased by 1 gives us 10, and 1 of 10 will be added to 4, so we get 500. At the same time, if we round 495 to the nearest 100, we see that 9 in the tens place is 5 or more, so 495 rounds to 500. All other numbers the same way round to 500 when they are rounding to the nearest 10 or to the nearest hundreds. We are done with question number 10. Let's now scroll down to move to question number 11. Okay, and question number 11, it says, follow the rounding instructions. What do you notice about the result of rounding to the nearest 100? The numbers in this grid should be rounded to the nearest 10 in this grid and rounded to the nearest 100 in the grid down here. And again, the ones which are rounded to the nearest 10 should be rounded to the nearest 100 again. Let me first round these numbers to the nearest 10. So this number rounds to 800 when rounded to the nearest 10. I have explained a lot about rounding to the nearest 10 and also rounding to the nearest 100. So you all know about this. I will directly round them so that we should not spend a lot of time. The second one rounds to 650 because 4 in the tens place is increased by 1. And the third number rounds to 320 420. This number rounds to 450, and the number here rounds to 220, and the number here rounds to 950. This number rounds to 180. This number rounds to 560, and the number here rounds to 750 when we round to the nearest 10. Actually, the number 809 rounds to 810 when rounded to the nearest 10, because 9 in the ones place is 5 or more. So the number we get here is 810. Let's now round these numbers to the nearest 100. So 809 rounds to 800 to the nearest 100. 645 rounds to 600, and 323 rounds to 300. 448 rounds to 400. 216 rounds to 200. 952 rounds to 1000. 178 rounds to 200. 558 rounds to 600, and 747 rounds to 700. Now we have to round these numbers to the nearest 100. So 810 over here rounds to 800, 650 rounds to 700, 320 rounds to 300, 450 rounds to 500, 220 rounds to 200, 950 rounds to 1000, 180 rounds to 200, 560 rounds to 600, and 750 rounds to 800. We see that the numbers which are rounded to the nearest 10, if they are rounded up, they are more in value than the ones which are rounded down. For example, 323 rounded down when it's rounded to the nearest 10. And the value of this is the same as the value of the one which is directly rounded to the nearest hundreds. And the number 448 is rounded up when we round it to the nearest 10. And when we round this number to the nearest 100, the value that we get is more than the number when it is directly rounded to the nearest 100. So when directly rounded, we get 400. And when we round the rounded number, we get 500. The same way, 747. When it's directly rounded to the nearest 100, we get 700. But when we first round it to the nearest 10 and then round to the nearest 100, we get 800. So we can say the numbers which are rounded up to the nearest 10 will be more when they are rounded to the nearest 100. Let's now move down to question number 12. In question number 12, it says, in a shop, all prices are rounded to the nearest $10. Would all the customers be happy about the changes in price? Explain your answer. I will say no. They will not be happy. They will not be happy. The reason why they will not be happy is because the numbers which are less than 10, when they are rounded up. For example, because the numbers like $9.50 also round to $10, and the amount $9.60 also round to $10. These customers are not happy. But the prices which are more than $10, like $10.40, they will be happy because it rounded down to $10. Or the ones with the price of $10.30, will also be happy because their amount round to $10. So the prices which are more than $10 and when rounded, it rounds to 10, they will be happy. But the customer of the prices which are $9.50 and $9.60, which are rounded to $10, will not be happy. That's why we can say that all the customers will not be happy with these changes in the price. This is all about exercise 1.3 of workbook 3 of Cambridge Primary Mathematics. I hope it helps you understand how you can estimate and how you can round numbers to the nearest 10 and also to the nearest 100. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel to be notified of the upcoming videos, and also like the videos and share the videos with your friends. Have a nice time and thank you so much.